Champions Mojo is part of the CG Sports Network.
Welcome to Champions Mojo, a podcast to bring out your inner champion. Your hosts are sisters-in-law Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker. Kelly is a former Division I head swim coach, Olympic trials qualifier, and holds national and world records in masters swimming. Maria holds world records in endurance cycling and won the world's toughest bike race, Race Across America. Both are certified health and life coaches. Our goal is to inspire you through conversations with champions. And now, your host, Kelly Pallas.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Champions Mojo podcast. Today, Maria and I are first going to talk about some traditional ways to bring discipline into your life. And then, if those techniques don't appeal to you, stay tuned because we have a very different approach that we think that you're going to love. If you think discipline's a dirty word or you don't like the idea of having discipline, we've got something for you that you may not really have ever heard. Hey, Maria, it's great to be with you today.
Hi, Kelly. It is. I think discipline is a great subject, but I think it has the word discipline has some bad connotation. So let's talk about what discipline actually is, which when we boil it down, it comes to behavior change. The reason we want discipline or self-discipline is so we can change our behaviors to align more with our goals, so we can achieve those goals. Basically, it's sacrificing the present for the future. But I think if we think of discipline as freedom or as getting to freedom, it can open our chest a little bit more in terms of because I think, like I said, the word is kind of hard. The word may bring painful connotations to you, but basically the idea is that if you can bring your life into discipline in a certain way, then you actually will experience joy and freedom after you have gone through sort of a difficult period. I think Jordan Peterson calls it the keyhole. So you get through the difficult part of discipline and then you experience joy and freedom. We're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Yes, exactly, Maria. And there's a lot of information on discipline. You know, one of the thought leaders on this is Jocko Willink, and he says discipline is freedom. And it really is. I mean, if you want financial freedom and you're tied to a job, but you have the discipline to do your side hustle and create wealth, you get to quit that job and have, your own free schedule. So there's so many ways you could have, freedom from your pants being too tight, freedom from, there's all kinds of, when you're disciplined, good things happen. So basically for me, what what discipline is that it's our thoughts matching our actions. So right. When we say, you say to yourself, in your inner voice says, I should go running, or I should go meditate, or I should get up off the couch and finish that script that I promised Maria I would have to her at 2:00. But I'm just gelling, I'm chilling, and it just doesn't, either your body is not matching the thoughts in your head or your emotions. You might just be sad or have, be upset or angry or have had a fight with your significant other. So when we say in our minds, I should do this, or I need to do that, or I want to earn this goal. And so I know that I need to do these things, but our actions don't match. So how do we get our actions to align with our thoughts so we can reach our goals?
Right. So that's what, we've come up with 6 sort of ideas around that. And, but I first want to just say that I think a lot of people may have shame or bad feelings around failure in the past. So lots of times people try to lose weight or they try to start an exercise program and they fail time and time again. And so kind of in shame or fear or there's a lot of sort of negative feelings. They just kind of give up because I've tried and failed before. So I think, the first thing, if you're going to approach this sort of with a clean slate, is to take some of that emotion, and particularly if there's shame, out of any goals you have. I mean, part of succeeding is failing. And so you can think of all those times that you may have failed in achieving your goal before as more information and trying. And, so if we can take some of the shame or the negative emotion around past failure, I think going forward where you're going to have a lot more success with these ideas around developing discipline that we're going to talk about today. So
yes, so yeah, we've kind of we've really curated. There could be 50 ways to get disciplined. So we've kind of curated these down. So Maria, I'm gonna now that you've said that one, I'm gonna say that we have 7 today because you're actually saying the first one is take shame out, which is a step. So so let's call that 1A, and then you were going to do 1.
Okay. So the first one, and I think this is so important, and maybe you don't think of it, but it's focus on an identity change. And I've told the story 100 times, probably on this podcast, and I've thought about it even more than that. Is once you start to think of yourself as the kind of person who, or as a certain kind of person, even if your behavior isn't following that right now, eventually it will. And the example I have here for me was I never thought of myself as an athlete. I grew up as a jelly bean, and just very just never thought of myself as athletic or good with my fitness, and I was sort of overweight, and I started running, but I still didn't really think of myself as an athlete. I mean, athletes run fast, right? I was just jogging. And then my sweet sister-in-law, Kelly, said at one point, she said, I said, well, I'm not really an athlete. And she said, whoa, hold on a minute, Maria, you've run 5Ks, you get up every morning and you run 5 miles or whatever it was, she repeated.
And you qualified for Boston.
Well, I think that was sort of before then, but I had become a regular exerciser. And once I became a regular exerciser, in Kelly's mind, I was an athlete. I never thought of myself as an athlete, but once I started to think of myself as an athlete, it changed everything. An athlete is the kind of person who gets up every morning and does her sport. An athlete's the kind of person who eats well to perform well at her sport. An athlete is, so it changed the way I felt. And I think, I'm sure, well, Kelly, you probably have some other examples, but I when I work with my coaching clients, one of the things I say is, you're the kind of person who, and then I let them fill in the blank. Are you the kind of person who walks, every day? Are you the kind of person who says no to sweets, whatever? Help yourself accept a new identity.
Yes. And the actual, so I love that part. You can be the kind of person that does this, that regularly does that. Or you can actually take on the whole identity of, I am a vegetarian. If you're trying to be a plant-based diet person and all your friends know you as like, the guy that grills every weekend and you're a meat eater, all of a sudden you're a vegetarian. Yeah. So you are eating vegetables. So you're a vegetarian. One example, I can't even remember where I heard it. I've heard this years ago, but it's with smokers. So if someone offers me a cigarette, I'm going to say, oh, I'm not a smoker. If someone offers, let's say a smoker who is trying to quit. So they're in like day 3, their friends don't know that they quit on Sunday and it's Wednesday and they get offered a cigarette. They may say, no, thank you. But
or
how
I'm
much
trying, or they might say, I'm trying.
But what if they said, I'm not a smoker? All of a sudden they've owned that. I am not a smoker. So think of those identities that really want to, you really want to identify with where you're going. Where are those thoughts taking you? What are the goals? And when you get to that goal, who are you?
Right.
So,
I love
all right.
that.
So so that could be one of my favorite. I don't know. All of these are my favorite. So the second one, which is huge, is what's the why? Like, why is it that you want to have discipline? What is it? So this is basically the goal. What is the big thing? And I think it has to be, we're going to call number 2 the opposite of what we're going to talk about in number 4, which instead of small motivations, which we're going to get to in number 4, a little different than usual, like I said in the beginning, but this is the big, and who is our friend that taught us this? Ferris Ksebati, who we interviewed. He said, the BHAGS, big, hairy, audacious goals, a BHAG. So what is something that's so motivating to you that you don't even need discipline? You're so motivated. You're up before the alarm clock. You're out there going for it. So it could be a huge goal. It could be something small. It could be something that you're just highly motivated, but you've got to have that why. And I think if you can put Post-it notes to remind you, if it's not a big, hairy, audacious goal, then maybe it's just a middle-sized goal that you may need to be reminded of, or maybe it's something that you're doing for someone else that you need to be reminded of. But I think the why is huge. And Maria, I think you have a story here with maybe somebody in your family on the why, or
well, I actually have lots of why stories. I was going
Yeah.
to first talk about Race Across America, which I had a really strong why. I was raising money for brain cancer research, and my sister was dying of brain cancer. But later, over the ensuing years, I was helping other people who were trying to do Race Across America. I was supporting them, and what they all told me is that they were raising money for brain cancer research too. They didn't know anybody who had brain cancer, but they embraced the goal of brain cancer research. But they all said, look, I would have quit, if it took them 11 days, I would have quit on day 7 if I didn't realize that there were people out there who were looking at me and who cared that I finished this, who it was important to them, that this was a life or death thing. Like they had a hard time in this case doing it for themselves, but they could do it for this big why, which was to cure brain cancer. And I think that's really true too. I'm going to brag on family members, my son-in-law, who has made these huge changes in his life. And one of the things he did was to give up alcohol, and it obviously very, very, very difficult for a person who, he's spent a lot of time in countries where, because he's an international aid worker, he spends a lot of time in countries where alcohol is like the only pleasure that people have. And so he developed a habit of doing a lot of drinking. But when he got married and had a child, he realized that his drinking was going to destroy his family. That was a huge why. I'm sure it's the only way it got him through the first day, first week, first month, and now he's 7 years sober. So having this why, and one of the things we're going to talk about later is like, this isn't something that's going to help you like every minute of every day, but this is something to get back to when you're feeling like you're getting off the path. One of my coaching clients is trying to reverse her diabetes, and that's a big why. It's hard, on a day-to-day basis, and we'll talk about that later, like I said, but she can helicopter up once a week and remember, oh yeah, I want to live a long time. I want to live for my children and my grandchildren. So the why is important, and if you can surround the why with emotion, I think that makes it even more like it's, if you can envision yourself, whatever your why is, I want to be, even if I want to be the number one, whatever, if you can surround that with emotion, if you can feel the pride in your chest when you get there, if you can feel the joy of, your family when you do whatever it is you're going to do, you got to to me, you got to have a lot of emotion around that why.
Yes, Maria, that is beautiful to have that emotion.
Yeah.
And in thinking back, a lot of the discipline that I have, and you and I were, when we started this podcast, we got to share our pre-recording talk was like, we said to each other, you said, do you feel like you're disciplined? And I said, yeah. And you said, do you need more discipline or less? And I said, I think I probably need less. And you said you do too. So, so at night I will send out emails when I'm too tired. I'm too tired to do this work, but I will send emails to, doctors or dermatologists or to the National Eczema Association. The other night I wrote a big long email because I found this product on the shelf that is just dangerous and people can buy it and put it on. So we have that emotion, or we're going to talk about using motivators. So I think that it's really a great recommendation to use that emotion. If you want to get more fit and you had a relative that died of a cardiovascular disease, use that emotion. Boy, I lost that person. And, you use that with losing Jenny. And I use my emotion around the skin problems that I've had. So anyway, I think that's a great one. And number 3 is a really one of my favorites too.
Oh, me too. This is, and I think this is the most misunderstood maybe aspect to self-discipline, but the idea is that you have to build your discomfort muscle, which again, this sounds worse than it is. But another way I've heard it put is lean into discomfort. Now, you don't have to do it for long periods of time, but you can build this ability to be uncomfortable. And, we were talking about, like, this morning we were talking about running. My dad used to always say, it feels so good when you stop. So there are some people who love to run. I am not one of them. I love to have run. I love to have had that already done in my day. I love the way I feel when I accomplish that. But I am good at this. I'm good at saying, okay, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it because I know when I'm done, I'm going to feel great. And so this concept of leaning into the discomfort or building your discomfort, you can build it in little ways. You don't have to start off doing something really hard but you can just say, okay, I really don't like getting up early or whatever. I'm going to set my alarm and get up, early, or even just doing something that like makes you uncomfortable. Like we talk about doing something every day that scares you, whatever that is, like if it's making a phone call, that's leaning into discomfort. And I know you've got some good examples of that, Kelly.
Well, I think one that's everyone can do, and it's easy unless you live in Florida in the winter. Most people can do this, and that is cold showers. So cold showers they develop your discomfort muscle, and the research shows that when you do something difficult at the beginning of your day, that you have a boost in self-esteem. You feel like you can conquer more tasks. So cold showers, besides just building a discomfort muscle, and we learned that anything is a neuro pathway. So
right.
When we're talking negatively to ourselves or positively to ourselves, we're reinforcing a neural pathway. That is a muscle that we can do. When we're meditating and our mind snaps away and then we bring it back, and it goes away and we bring it back, that's a muscle that we're developing. So this is the same way with discomfort. If you can do a cold shower in the morning, because we all shower, or do it at night, whenever you shower, 3 minutes, and start out with 30 seconds and then go to a minute and play music, bring your phone into the shower and play music while you're doing it. But it also is anti-inflammatory, antidepressant, boosts your immune system. You're getting a lot of benefits with it. So it's cold showers, I think, are a way that anyone can develop their discomfort muscle. And then you can transfer that to running or meditating or whatever you need to do. But I think cold showers are the greatest. I do them. I don't like them in Florida because the water here just is not that hot. But when I am in the mountains in the summer, the water coming out of that tap is just frigid. And now, so we have a little small pool in our house or in our backyard, and the water is dropping, and we can turn on the heat in the pool, but we decided we're not going to turn it on. The pool is down to about 70 degrees right now, which, your body's 98. So Mark and I went on a little small run this morning, a Kaizen run, which we'll learn about on the next one, because we're just starting back into running. So we went on a little Kaizen run this morning, and we were both kind of hot. I mean, it was like 75 here, and then you get your core temperature up. And when we got back, we did 5 minutes in the pool, and it felt freezing, and it was hard. So I think cold water therapy is huge, whether it's a pool, a lake, or even cold outside. So if you're familiar with Wim Hof and his techniques, I've done his breathing. I've taken one of his classes. Getting outside. If you live in the North, Maria, you and your family, you're up in Massachusetts, get in your bathing suit and run around the house twice. Put your tennis shoes on and your bathing. That they say that is that's just as helpful. So it's cold. It's kind of a cold therapy.
It is cold here, and I remember when you first started talking about cold showers, I was like, I don't think so.
You still haven't done them.
No, I do them now.
Oh, you do?
So,
okay. I thought you hadn't.
No, here was the key for me. You said, oh, I said, you just get in there and the water's cold. You said, no. I usually do all my stuff. I shampoo my hair and I wash my body. And then I turn the water cold. And I think you even told me to turn it down gradually. In the New England, our groundwater is frigid.
Oh, I'm sure it's
and so,
very cold.
So I started doing it at the end of my shower, just like that, and I think one of the things about leaning into it works. Different people have different personalities. For me, leaning into discomfort, I have to do it gradually. And then what I tell myself, it's also part self-talk. Like I tell myself, oh, I'm good at doing hard things. I'm good at suffering. I say that's my, but if I say that to myself all the time, I can't say I don't like cold showers. I really don't like cold showers, but I like having had a cold shower.
Yeah,
I like getting out and wrapping up in the warm towel. But basically the key for me was doing it gradually. And then once the water was cold, it's like, oh, it's so cold on my back. And I turn around, oh, it's so cold on my chest. And then after a while, it's just like, oh, this is hard, but it's great. So I love cold shower as leaning into your discomfort, but I think there's other things you can do. I work out hard on the bike trainer lately. I've been working on it hard. I get on it and I don't tell myself, oh, you're going to work out hard, but I just allow myself a nice warm up. And then I say, okay, building up. Same thing with cold showers. So it's not something like, I think it sounds worse than it is. Practice little things. Maybe it's like I'm hungry, but I'm going to wait an hour. I'm not going to feed myself. That's leaning into discomfort.
Well, Maria, this segues great into number 4.
Okay.
So when you say you're going to talk about the Kaizen theory, when you say I'm hungry now, I'm going to wait an hour. So why don't you tell number 4? So if you've been running or you're on the treadmill or you're just listening, I've had a lot of feedback that people love our 1 hour shows because they can do 1 hour of walking and they get a whole show, or 1 hour of being on the treadmill or they get a whole show. So
that's nice.
If you're zoning out, this is a different thing. I had never heard this until I took a class from one of my friends who I don't know if I'm allowed to promote it yet. I'll ask her and then put it in the show notes if I am, but I learned this from a friend that I'm taking a class with, and I had of all my personal development and research, I had never heard of the Kaizen theory. And it doesn't require typical, discomfortable discipline. So Maria, let's talk about the Kaizen theory.
So the Kaizen theory is, I think I have done this naturally my whole life, and I never really thought about it, but the kind of Kaizen theory is take tiny steps. And I'll let Kelly get into some of the science behind it, but basically, instead of just saying, oh, okay, today I'm going out to run a mile. I mean, that mile is a long way if you're not a runner. The Kaizen theory says, today I'm going to do something so small that it's not threatening at all. I'm going to go out and maybe I'm just going to walk to the end of the block and that's it. Or if that seems hard, I'm going to walk to the mailbox. Something that's tiny, 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 tiny steps towards your goal. And I have talked about this when I've done any long endurance cycling event and it gets hard, which of course it does. The longer it is, the harder it is, the tighter I am, the more I got to forget my big goal and just do the next tiny thing. And for me, it is, and I think about this all the time. What is like for instance, if I'm cycling and I'm going just to the next, I'm just going to the next thing I can see, a crack in the road. It may be 10 yards ahead. It's not, and I get there and I say, yeah, great job. Atta girl, Maria. Then I look for the next branch on the side of the road. Yeah, way to go. Same thing with food, I might be hungry now, but I'm going to see if I can wait 15 minutes, or I'm going to not eat dessert one night a week or whatever. It's a tiny, tiny goal that shouldn't scare you. I'll let you talk some more about that, Kelly.
Yes. And we will put this in the show notes with a link to the details of the Kaizen theory. But in brief, it's a way to get around our critter brain. It's a way to get around. I mean, Maria, you opened the show talking about shame or failure. Right. Yes. So if one decides, okay, in 2021, I'm going to run a marathon. That's a pretty daunting goal to a lot of people. It's daunting to me. I've never run a marathon. So if I say, I'm going to run a marathon, that's not maybe different people. they're going to be like, well, I've said that before. I don't want to say that again. I may fail. That may not get me out of bed in the morning to go on my run. But like you said, if I say, I'm just going to go to the mailbox today, I'm going to the mailbox and back. Tomorrow, I'm going to my neighbor's mailbox and back. And the next day, I'm going to go 3 houses down, until you build into your confidence to do it, and you circumvent, you go around that critter brain, that fear of failing. And the research shows that it's very successful, but you have done this naturally. And I love it. And I'm going to go back to cold water here again. That's another way that people Kaizen. You do it for literally 10 seconds. I can do this for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Then you're up to 3 minutes and you don't even, hey, I can do, cold water. I'm doing an exercise, which we've talked about before, to help shoulders, which is hanging from a bar. And you can hang in your doorway if you just buy one of those, bars that go over the door. But we have a full on, big pull-up bar in our gym. And when I first did that, the physical therapist to help your shoulders, which it has cured my rotator cuff tear and my impingement syndrome in my shoulder. I was heading for shoulder surgery, and I don't have to have it now because I hang. But it said, you need to work up to 5 to 10 minutes of hanging a day. And I could barely hang for 20 seconds. So I just built up to where I can now hang for like 5 minutes at least. And I just do 2 sets of 5 minutes, but it's a Kaizen thing.
Yeah. And there's dozens of programs out there. There's one called Couch to 5K. Literally, you're on the couch and you want to do a 5K. It's a program that takes tiny steps. There's, you want to do a pull-up. There's programs online. Find a pull-up, basically that helps you slowly, gradually. Push-ups for me. I was trying to get back into some weight training, and I used to be able to do 50 push-ups, and I couldn't do one. But I just got on my knees and did a couple of the so-called girl push-ups, and then I built up to 20 of those, and then I could do one regular one. And then, so yeah, the Kaizen theory, it lets you off the hook a little bit. You don't have to do the whole thing. And as we open the show, you got to have, in the end, it's nice to have a big goal that moves you emotionally, but for day to day, you got to just do the next right thing, one small thing. I talk about this even in my business all the time. Okay, we're talking about this grand idea. What is the very next thing, very next small thing that I need to do to move me towards this goal? And if you can keep that in your mind, like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, what's one thing that I know I can do that doesn't scare me too bad, that I can do tomorrow? And people, they tend to just do too much all at once. Oh, okay, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to run 5 miles and I'm going to start eating salads for lunch every day or whatever. Small, tiny goals.
Yeah, you've been a natural at that. And one thing that I think the Kaizen theory is really good for, and this is reverse engineering. So discipline, we talked about hitting goals and doing things that coincide. So we have that thought that says, oh, I should run, or I should meditate, or I should work on that book that I want to write. But if you want to stop something, so again, I'm taking, this friends of mine class, and I ask, can you use Kaizen to reverse something? So if you don't want to do something, if you're trying to not drink or not overeat, then you can reverse it. And just like you said, I'm going to get my normal full plate of food, and before I eat, I'm going to take 1 tablespoon off. So,
that's so great.
Just the little bit. So you can, it's usable for both achieving a goal and then getting rid of something that you don't want in your life. So I love that part of it.
And I'll just tell another story about my wonderful son-in-law has lost 75 pounds. I think in the last year.
This is the same son-in-law who stopped drinking.
Right.
He's really on a roll. Yeah.
One of the things he said he did, well, he helps refugees. So, he said he learned from his work that you can't help a whole country. You can't help 200,000 refugees. You start with a family. You can help one family. and then maybe you can help the community. And so he has applied this to his weight loss. And he said he first set, a big goal, and then he gave himself like twice the amount of time that he thought it would take to do what he wanted. And he broke it down into tiny, tiny steps. And, and he's added, it's been interesting to watch him because, he started out just kind of trying to cut down on his carbs, and then he added a little bit of walking, and now he's found he likes jogging. I mean, this is not a man that you would ever think would say he enjoyed jogging. It was so, I'm just so impressed with him. But in listening to him, I asked him to tell me about how he did it. And he used the Kaizen method. He took it, he broke it down into tiny, tiny, tiny steps. He didn't think like, oh, I'm going to go out and run 5 miles. He just took one small step at a time. And now he's lost 75 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
And he also used the, sort of, we were talking about the lack of shame thing. One of the things he said that just made me laugh. He said, I have to remind myself that me and my belly are on the same side. We both want to look good in a suit. So I mean, you can sort of like, I hate myself, I am so disgusting. That's not a good way to achieve a goal. You got to start with, like I said, you got to take some of that emotion out and say, hey, we're all on the same team here. We want to be healthy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that was number 4. Number 5 is really knowing your strengths and your weaknesses is so helpful in being disciplined. So if you're trying to do something, you want to get out of bed earlier, you don't want to spend as much time in bed. Well, then don't look at your phone in bed, because if you decide, hey, I'm going to look at my phone in bed, and then, I'm 15 minutes on the phone checking my emails or whatever it is. If you know you're going to give up junk food, well, then get all the junk food out of your house. I mean, we've heard that one a lot. So know your weaknesses, what is going to tempt you, what's going to delay you. If you know that you have a friend that you're supposed to run with and she always shows up and says, let's just walk, then that's a weakness for that friend that may be detouring you. Know your strengths too. Like everyone, you and I love to exercise in the morning. It's mostly a good idea to get your workout done. We know that our willpower is stronger in the morning than in the evening because we make a lot of decisions. But if you really enjoy working out in the evening, and everybody says work out in the morning, no, your strength is maybe you're an evening person. So I think knowing your strengths and weaknesses is a huge key in being successful with matching your thoughts with your actions.
Totally agree. I think that's a really good point. It's like, we used to, when we were raising the kids, we talked about things that could be fixed with structure. So it's like, is this a real problem or is this a structural problem? If the kid is falling apart, if our child is falling apart because, he hasn't had anything to eat for 7 hours, then that's a structural problem. And so, when I say that, I mean, for me, when I was first trying to get up early to run or to and I still do this to this day, I lay out my clothes because that creates, I know that I don't want to do it. I know that it's going to be hard to get out of bed, but if that's one less thing, I don't have to fumble around in the closet and look for my, my running shorts or my cycling shorts. So I know that getting up and getting out of bed is a weakness for me. So I sort of create a structure that allows that to happen more easily. For me, getting the carbs and the crap, the bad food out of my house and keeping it out of my house is absolutely essential, because if there's cookies in my house, they're calling my name, and I cannot succeed. So I know that that's a weakness for me, and a strength for me is that I'm a morning person. So even though it's hard to get up, once I'm up, I know that I can do the hardest things in the morning. So I create the structure or the environment so that I'm doing the hardest things first, and whatever is important, I want to get it done first thing in the morning. Swallow that frog first thing.
Yes. So our last one, Maria, and I think number 1 and number 6 may be my favorites, but number 6 is really knowing your motivation. Like what motivates you? It's a little more than the why. I think this is actually, we said add the emotion.
Yeah.
So what's the emotion? Is it fear? Is it finances. What is motivating you? What did you say motivates you? Like, rewards. Do rewards motivate you?
Yeah, I thought it was, we kind of, we know our differences, Kelly and I. And one of the things that motivates me is telling people that I'm going to do something. So if I, like now when I'm feeling good, I'm going to say, hey, Kelly, I'm going to meet you for, say we're going to do we're going to try to go on a fast together. If I tell you, Kelly, I'm going to, go on a fast, I'm going to skip breakfast or lunch for a week. I'm going to do the intermittent fasting with you. If I say that I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, because one of my motivating factors is social. If I tell people that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But then we were kind of laughing because that doesn't motivate you as much as it does me. What are your motivating factors?
Right. I am, I don't know if we were raised like this, but you're married to my brother. So you know that Parker's, we don't have any problem canceling anything. Like Maria, let's meet tomorrow at 5 and we're going to go for a run. I can call you at 4:30 or text you and say, yeah, I'm sleeping in. And then my thought process is, Maria may need to sleep in. Maybe that was the best thing for her. Like, I don't, that is not motivating for me. But what is motivating for me is kind of either, like we said at the top of the show, I'm very disciplined. So I don't have a lot of rewards or a lot of just freedom in my life. Like I have the freedom to do, I work my own schedule, but I don't reward myself a lot. So when I do something that's really hard, like I hate going to the doctor. I really hate going to the doctor. And I haven't been to the doctor for my eyes in a couple of years. And I just hate getting my eyes dilated. I hate them looking deep into my eyes. I just don't like the whole eye doctor process. But I had an eye doctor's appointment yesterday, and I'm frugal. So I don't treat myself to Starbucks, but I told myself as I was driving into the parking lot, I'm dreading this. I don't want to go. I have a little bit of adrenaline, like a little anxiety. And I saw myself coming out of there happy and saying, I'm going to go to Starbucks and I'm going to treat myself to, a latte. And I took one of my raw Rev bars with me so I could have a raw Rev bar and a Starbucks coffee after I did my eye appointment. And that was a reward for me that got me disciplined enough to go to the doctor, to make the appointment. I literally, when I made that eye appointment, it's near a Starbucks because we don't have one right next to me, but my eye doctor is near a Starbucks. And I said, I'm going to make this appointment. And the way I'm going to get through it is when I get out, I'm going to treat myself to a Starbucks and a raw Rev bar. And it was great. I mean, that motivated me to get out of there. So, I'm also highly motivated by fear of having bad health. So I want to, you could spin that around and say you're motivated by good health, but I just, having had breast cancer, I don't want to have any more breast cancer. So I try to eat a very clean diet, and that motivates the fear of getting breast cancer again, motivates me. So I think you have to find what that motivation is, and that attaches to your why. I think that's the emotion that we're looking for that attaches to the why.
Yeah, I agree. I remember Jim learned in medical school, they said that there's basically two kinds of motivation. There's the fear of failure or the rewards of success, they said people are more motivated by the rewards of success than the fear of failure. That is not the case for me. I am motivated by fear. And my fear is around, like, I said I was going to do this and everybody's watching, I better do it. Or other fears. Like for me, like you, I don't want to get Alzheimer's. So that's one of the reasons why, if I find myself feeling mentally foggy, I'm really aware of the carbs that I intake. I'm scared of not having the ability to say the words or find the words that I want. So, knowing, and I think everybody's a little bit different in this, and you're probably different about different goals, but think to yourself, am I more motivated by, that feeling of power and happiness when I achieve that goal, or am I more motivated by, like, I don't want the next guy to get me. I think when we talk to our swimmers, sometimes a lot of them, like, they don't care about winning, they just don't want to lose.
Right.
But a lot of them only think about what it's going to be like to win. They don't really care about what the other people are doing. They're just focused on their thing. So I think just knowing yourself and knowing what motivates you. For some people, it's power, it's money. You know, if you're motivated by money, attach some kind of a monetary goal or monetary thing. If I achieve this goal, I'm going to do whatever it is. And you know, often I will schedule a massage, which is expensive and it seems like a luxury, but I'll schedule it for like a Saturday afternoon because I know I do a really hard workout on Saturday mornings. That's when I do my longest, hardest workouts. And so if I'm failing in the middle of that, I'm like, no, I got that massage and I got to earn that massage. So knowing knowing what motivates you, finding rewards and or even the fears, we can use these feelings to keep us on track.
Yes, beautiful. So in summary, our 6, and I'll read them off here real quick, are so focus on that identity that you want. What's the why? Embrace that discomfort, build that discomfort muscle. Use the small steps. That's the Kaizen, like the tiniest step is the, first 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Eating an elephant, one spoonful at a time.
One bite at a time, you can eat the whole elephant. Know your strengths and weaknesses. That's a big one. And then motivation. What is motivating you? And if you can use those 6, really, discipline is going to be a done deal.
That's right. This is a great one. It was motivating us to prepare for it, to think about the things that I've used. And I hope this helps anybody out there. I think just remember that also, I think one thing I didn't say that I really wanted to say is failure is an opportunity to succeed again. So if you've failed, it's okay. Just think, what did I do wrong? What can I do differently? So
yeah, absolutely. Hang in there. All right, Maria.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.